too strong, and they need to ban it.
Well,
I think that they need to ban it or take it away.
First thing Rival says is that Nemesis needs to be taken away from Dalo. That caused a couple of issues for them. So they'll take that off the table, and it's over to the Papis, who will take away Bologna, saying, listen, you gave us Bologna, but we're not going to give it to Deathwalker. We're not that crazy.
I don't think anybody's that crazy to want to let Deathwalker have his favorite Bologna pick, but having Bologna and Osiris taken off the table just leads me to wonder what they're going to opt for as far as the solo lane match is concerned. I think that we could see a Sun Wukong.
Like Sun Wukong, maybe.
I would imagine.
Sun Wukong. They're the sort of ones that have been in meta for a while. But Fafnir slips through this time. Papis banned it last game, but this game you're like, you know what, Callis, you can have it.
And I'm not surprised, actually. I was thinking more towards the Ganesh aspect, but if you're going to let Callis have his favorite god and the god that Rival always seems to dominate on whenever Callis has it, I think that it's still a very strong pickup.
Well, Dalo had a good performance in the jungle last game in the Nemesis. This time he's going to be on the Susano, a little bit more mobile than a Nemesis, surprisingly enough.
Dalo just loves having that jungle mobility available to him, and no surprise there for the ROM either. Warchi was pretty on point with those snipes, only missing a couple of them, but securing the kills when he needed to.
Definitely, and that was a key for Warchi in the early game. The first couple of kills that Warchi picked up with those snipes were very, very important to the telltale of how those fights went, because Rival were technically out of those fights most of the times those snipes came through. There was no further follow-up damage, and if Ramen missed those snipes, they get away, and the game stays relatively closer to even.
Kern is going to be the next selection alongside of Serket, and this is a little bit more of a fun matchup for Rival. Serket and Susano, that's always entertaining to see because two highly mobile gods trying to face off against each other. Plus Serket has the taunts to really pull Susano out of those dashing and prevent a little bit of his mobility, but that Ganesh again. Well,
it's back again, but we'll see what Ganesh can do this game. Draco more than likely going to go back to that. In the support role, Soulbound now by Rival, Erlang Shen by the Papis. So you can see the Papis definitely trying to hit Deathwalker as many times as possible and limiting what options he's got available to him.
And nothing wrong with that. I mean, Deathwalker is a very strong player, so eliminating and making him reach deep into that god pool, I think is going to be a little bit of fun for Rival to try and experiment with.
Sun Wukong, right?
Sun Wukong's still on table, but
I was like, this is the only pick there because Papis kind of set this up for themselves because they knew they were the next pick. They're like, okay, Cyrus Band, Bologna, Raven, Erlang Shen, Nike. We take Sun Wukong, and then Rival have to go with Geb.
Geb, and it's going to be Geb solo. I'm pretty sure.
Geb.
I'm pretty sure that's Geb solo, at least. I'm like fairly certain that that's Geb solo because that's something that Deathwalker would do.
More than likely is with the Poseidon being locked into. I was waiting for a word from production of a mistake, but I'm like, nope, it seems to be Geb. That seems to be the call. Obviously, we saw Geb in the jungle, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? It didn't work, but Geb solo has some merit because he's basically undying, and his scaling isn't absolutely monstrously terrible.
You don't have to hide it, Hindu. We all know that EU's got a Geb fetish.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine.
I know. It was talked about a long time ago, actually, with a former team, Paradigm, if you remember them, the $1 club. They were actually talking about running the Bacchus Geb combo where they had Geb in the solo lane once upon a time. So, yeah, we'll see how this Geb performs up against a Sun Wukong.
And I love the Geb pickup because if he can make it out of the laning phase against the Sun Wukong, I think that he'll be fine as far as helping out the rest of his team. And Geb solo all the way.
Yep, and he started off with Bomber's Mask here for a little bit of jungle sustain, I should say, as well as the tier 2 of the breastplate of metal.
Papis have to invade this. I don't see them not looking for the invade against a Geb.
I mean, Sun Wukong and Susano versus Serket and Geb. You should win that trade if there's going to be an invade. Laning phase is interesting, but look at what Rival are doing here. They're actually starting at their speed buff with the Geb and with Ice Ice Babe. Now, I think that's going to be rollout potentially used. I want to say it's rollout, but maybe it's not. By Deathwalker at the speed buff right now, but it doesn't look to be the case. He's just going to sit there, tank it up, Ice Ice Baby gets it. So they're doing speed into blue, then going to lane. Interesting, because the old days, Taco, we used to see straight to lane. Well, by old days, I mean last week. It was straight to lane push, then do jungle buffs.
Oh, you had Creed on the opposite side, just securing his blue buff by himself. So in the time that it took him to lock down that blue buff, considering that he was left alone in solo, it permitted Ice Ice and Deathwalker to get away with that jungle start.
I'll talk about Deathwalker a little bit more here, now at level 2 on this Geb, because he didn't start off with a relic at the beginning of this game. This is an option that you can get away with, because you don't need that relic if you're going to probably go teleport anyway at the start of the game. But there's a chance you could hold on to having to get teleport if things work out well, and the fact he's got rollout to get back to lane a little bit quicker.
I I don't see him picking up teleport unless he really feels like he needs it. But the Geb rollout is just so long.
I actually think he's probably going to go Swift Wing rollout over teleport. Because by going Swift Wing, you get that extra mobility to go back to lane.
Some laners have been experimenting around with the Swift Wing. I'm not certain that he'll necessarily opt for it, but I think it could be an interesting pickup.
Definitely. Left-hand side, the red buff going down now towards Ice Baby and Wolfie too. Ice on something a little bit more aggressive. Well, I say that, but he was Thor last game. But something even more aggressive this game in terms of the Circuit. Definitely wants to get onto the player damage charts a little bit earlier on this time round.
Circuit can be a little bit more team-oriented, though, and I like the Circuit pickup here more than what I like the Thor in the last game, because at least Ice has that option to dive into the back line and really look to try and pick off Warty or Oho Boom before the fights engage. And
talking about the supports right now, you can see they've both got the Relics of Frenzy this time round. No Sunders, no Meditations, no Hog out of Drake and Marino this time. They've just gone for those Teamfight Frenzies.
In Teamfight Frenzy, sometimes all you really need is damage.
I mean, that's all you need, really.
Both of these drafts just have a ton of burst. It's not like the first game where we saw the engage and the counter engage. You've got a Scylla and you've got a Poseidon. So it's going to go one way or the other every single time.
There's two ways of looking at things. A lot of people who used to do raids and things and big MMOs used to say if you die, it's because you didn't have any survivability. You don't do damage if you're dead, right? In my eyes, is if you die, you didn't do enough damage.
Hey, the best defense is a good offense.
Precisely. So try and do as much damage as you can, and if you do more damage than them, then you win the game too. That's what both teams will be looking to do now. Callus got to coerce his teammate for a little bit more clear for the help of Vote, which is unsurprising that that'll clear nice and efficiently. But Rama's not too bad with Ganesha. This is a very even matchup in terms of clear, I'd say.
It's a very even matchup until these supports leave the lane, probably. Vote slightly behind Warty, so it's kind of fun for Warty because he'll probably be hitting level 6 a little bit sooner, or a little bit after Vote's reaching that 5 marking point. But once it comes down to the 1v1 between these two hunters, Kern is usually favored just because of the fact that he can get his poke damage out for free on you.
Well, the Papis have lane control in that duo lane for now. Already level 5 up against their opposition, but it won't take Rival too long to catch up to them. Both junglers are level 5 as well, wanting to get their respective speed buff shortly. And the most interesting thing is, which jungler do we expect to gank first? Because they're both on ganking junglers here, Taco, and neither have really made a step towards their opposition so far.
I think it's pretty difficult to gank a Geb, though. He has a ton of survivability on the Geb.
If you're Circuit, you do have a chance, though. But you're not Circuit. Circuit's on the other team, so you can't really use that.
He just has to try and catch him out of that rollout, which is something that's going to be kind of difficult to do.
Yeah, a little bit more tricky to do so. So Deathwalker's still farming up here. Ice Baby going to pick up some farm too. We'll see where he goes with the build here. Do you expect it full tank? Oh, he went Swift Wing. I was right. And Blink, interestingly enough. So that's now an engagement tool.
Engage. That's all that Deathwalker wants to do is engage. And with that Geb ultimate, I think he's going to have a very easy time doing so.
Are we going to see Geb solos in the future?
I wouldn't call it the future. I would not call it the future.
It's the present, and we see Geb solos.
It's something that...
I meant more, Taco. I meant more.
It's so niche. You just have to find the right composition to make it work in it. That was an excellent knockup
combo
by Deathwalker right there. Just Kree can not get that transformation off.
Farming up. Now he's taken a bit of tower damage, but not enough to write home about in that solo lane. He should be able to still hold that tower for the time being. Oracle's on the left-hand side being looked at by both the Papis and Rival. Both still alive for a moment. Who's going to get them is the question. 1 for 1 is the answer.
But they popped the frenzy on the side of Rival, and now they're looking for the engage. Warchi having to use his beads, but the same can't be said for Jacob Marino as he's getting ulted by literally everybody.
And that's how you bring down the Ganesha. Once the pillars are down, if you can get the ultimate off, and the boar is definitely the best one. Kraken, though, from Wolfie will take out Warchi as he got surrounded. No pressure from the Papis in the mid lane who were claiming the wave there. Dual lane falls down after the Oracles. It was those two that went aggressive to begin with.
When it comes to the early game initiation, I would definitely say that Rival is more in favor in comparison to the Poppy, simply because Oho Boom needs a little bit of time to farm up on this Scylla.
Yeah, that's true, and that farming on the Scylla. Surprisingly enough, though, he's not gone for Doom over here. Once again, going for the physical protection option. It looks like we may see Mages start to head back towards getting that helm at the start of the game.
I think he's just really concerned about Ice Baby on the Serket because he knows Ice Baby just wants to probably dive him off cooldown.
It's true, but the ultimate from Serket is true damage as well, so you can't even avoid that with protections. It will help him out against Vote 2, I suppose, so we'll see how that continues. Deathwalker's still farming up, level 8 on that right-hand side. Just keep an eye on the Geb count is what I'm after now. It's called the Geb count of like, how's Geb doing?
It just gets more scary as the game progresses when you think about Geb, because when he starts to max out that shield, and then you're max shielding a Serket who's just running after your carries, how do you really kill that?
Exactly, and on top of that, he used to scale. I'm not sure if he still does scale of the health of the player, of the Geb, funnily enough. One thing I will say, though, is that as he levels up, he'll get to the level that some supports never normally get to, which is that level 20 mark, which is where Geb really swings in the late game. You generally pick up a Geb on your team as support for the late game situations of the big shield and the big time ultimates.
Geb is like the anti-burst god. It is the worst case scenario to see a Geb whenever you are playing Rum, whenever you're playing Scylla, Susano. Every single member of the Papis is going to have an issue with this Geb, and unfortunately, I don't think the Papis were really able to capitalize onto Rival during the most vulnerable stage for him.
It's funny because Deathwalker kind of reminds me of an old school Xaylia in the solo lane, because Xaylia used to always just play in the casuals and pull out jank picks that used to work. And when he started playing professionally Xaylia, he brought out jank picks against things where you're like, how does this work? And it did. Now Deathwalker seems to be one of those people who's willing to do the same sort of thing, and he's making it work for himself as well.
I think one of the main differences is just that Xaylia would do that in casuals. Deathwalker does that in ranked.
Sure. Sure, I can definitely testify to that. Gold lead, though, for the time being, is ever so slightly in Papis' favor. It's like 100 gold. This game is even. Both teams, even though Rival got 2 kills, and that is a lot of gold in their coffers for that first blood, I'm surprised that Papis are doing such a good job of farming. They have really stepped up their farming this split.
They've started paying a lot more attention to just ensuring that they're in the lanes when the creeps are there, because missing all of that gold early on is so detrimental to your farm, because it just gives you so much. Well,
Oracle's being looked at. Callus here, as is Ice Baby for Rival. On the way is Wolfie, but already Papis are trying to burst these down, and it's a 1-for-1 trade again. Luckily enough, that hammer from Callus was just enough to tickle the Oracle there and give him the split.
I feel like Draco Marino is going to be the big target here. They are going to just do everything in their power to try and shut the elephant down.
So just keep trying to pressure him early on before he can really get involved. I think that's what Vote was doing, though. I think that the Wild Hunt is very, very useful against him, because you can do it from range and you can shut him down, turn an elephant into a pig, and you have a good time.
All these animals.
I know, we've got so many animals. Ice's going to get pulled in by Dalo, still trading off for the buff as Ojo does get a kill in the mid lane onto Wolfie. In the sky, though, looking for the snipes is Warchi, looking to clean up Ice's Baby, and will find it with the last hit. Meanwhile, Deathwalker with a nice rotational pick up a kill onto Draco Marino. It's 3 for 2 as Callus is in trouble, stood still. He needs some support from Deathwalker and gets it with a Cataclysm. He bought just enough time for his little dwarven friend to get over the wall and back to safety.
And Dalo and Greed, neither of them sure which way to go, trying to find Callus, and what a beautiful ultimate by Deathwalker. But
timing.
That snipe by Warchi.
Yeah.
That was insane. Really,
really nice little snipe. Unfortunately, we missed Ojo Boom getting that kill in mid lane onto Wolfie as well, which could have been an interesting telepoint, because I'm a Monster is on cooldown. 3-2, though. The game is still even. Deathwalker making an impact in the mid lane, whereas Creed couldn't really do too much there. But he does have Stone of Gaia now, which means he will no longer get knocked up every single time Geb hits him.
A lot of action all at once.
Yes.
That was a pretty spread out series of engagements.
Well, these two teams technically used to go at it back in the Challenger Circuit, because Rival, most of these members came up through the Challenger Circuit, used to compete against the Papis pretty much weekly in the Challenger Circuits too, against the lower level competition, and now both of them have made it into the Pro League, so they're both used to a good old scrap, because that's what the Challenger Cup was all about, consistent team fighting.
Yeah, I mean, Papis might be in the SPL now, but that doesn't mean that they're against fighting any time. They're looking for the aggression, and Creed already playing it. And I'm really liking how willing he is to still look for that, but Ice Baby might have sniffed out the fact that his transformation is down.
Well, Ice Baby coming around the corner, and the blink engage from Deathwalker to a setup for Ice to come in. Minions coming into play, though, to help him out, and Creed's going to get ulted. Can he get the stuff in time? He will. No ultimate available for Creed there. He overextended, and he got punished.
Got punished pretty heavily for that as well. I mean, typically when you have your bird form, you don't feel as though you're in any sort of danger. But
blink Geb.
Blink Geb and just the fact that Ice Baby was on his speed.
At the same time, indeed. Causes a couple of issues then for the Papis with the solo laner being dead. Dalo going to have to free farm that blue buff on his own as the rest of Papis having to defend their red buff. Rival have 4 members around here looking to engage. Vote already poking out Warchi a little bit as the buff is going to go safely to the Papis thanks to the help of Ojo Boom and the Crush.
I know that Ojo Boom's got to be happy about that one. It's never fun when you lose your red buff, but now it's going to be Rival looking to maybe bait something out here in the mid lane.
Well, they get the Oracles, and now the Gold Fury started up. Deathwalker happy to tank for 1,000,000 years if need be as this Geb. Dominant Pillars get dropped all the way around the objective, and immediately Rival will reset, using that window as like, okay, we got a free ultimate. That's a small win.
And that's kind of just all they really need to do every single time is just watch and try and bait out these cooldowns by the Papis.
Frenzy's pop for both teams there, and Deathwalker can get the shield off over the wall in time to help keep Wolfie alive, who's a little bit too far forward. Creed's still in trouble though, I say that, but it was a clone really. He's in the sky safely. Ojo Boom baiting Callus in for the hammer and then just Sentinels away. Papis end up getting a pick on Wolfie and got some pressure in the mid lane for free.
That's why Mukon Deco is always such a bait.
All the time.
All the time. It's just, but I mean, I'm glad that it wasn't actually Creed just face tanking those autos by Vote.
It would have been a few more issues if it was, that's for sure. Everyone was like, what are you doing? Right inside, Deathwalker's going to be back in time here. It's still 4-3, still an even game between these two. But they're scrapping. That's the main thing you can hope for, is actually see them fight, not just farm out all day. The most entertaining games are definitely the ones with more fighting action.
And everything is so close, especially between this Hunter matchup.
Yeah.
The only real difference is you've got Vote going for the Ninja Tabai and Warchi opting for the Warrior.
Yeah, and what's the real difference between that? I mean, overall, is there a benefit to one over the other, or is it just God dependent or style dependent?
Well, Warchi already has the attack speed steroid available in his kit with his second ability.
Sure.
So you can kind of get away with doing the Warrior Tabai for a little bit more damage if you're more concise with your auto attacks.
Silence already down from Draco Marino, and in they go once again, looking for the pick on Oyo Boom, who's got the Aegis down, will escape, and now the Hammer Monster's on, and he'll hit Wolfie, he's dead! Ice Baby running for his life, Oyo want to give him chase, but Deathwalker around the back, he hits the roll out on the wrong target, but he's still got the cleanup crew enough with the Sunder to bring down Scylla.
And that is such an unfortunate circumstance for Ojo Boom. He was looking for the second proc off the ultimate, but just was not anticipating that Geb rolling out from downtown.
You never expected Geb to come around the corner and cause so many problems. Papis, though, have Gold Fury control here. Creed on zone duty. Cataclysm down for Deathwalker, but Callus taking a lot of free poke on the front side there. Engaging from Dalo with the ultimate coming out, hitting 3 members, and that gives enough of time to bring down Callus before he can even ult defensively.
Wild Hunt hitting 2 members of the Papis, but really nothing for them to be scared of.
Well, nothing to be scared of, but they're a little bit worried about their health bars and the fact Ice Baby is back and they're not sure about his ultimate. Also knowing Wolfie's back on the table too on that Poseidon, whose Kraken is still available. So they're just going to reset, happy with the kills, keeping it even.
I mean, that's a smart move by the Papis. You don't really want to risk a Gold Fury that you don't have to.
No.
They don't have to risk that.
They don't right at this moment in time. Is there an advantage to a team going into mid-game now? As you look at the squads, Wolfie technically, is this where Poseidon starts to trail a little bit normally is what people say? Poseidon kind of falls off mid-game?
I mean, Wolfie, depending on how he's
the
opting to build,
yeah.
and it's looking like, I imagine he's most likely going to be building that Gem of Isolation, his third item, just to provide a little bit more utility towards his team. He's not really looking for the all-in burst potential on that Kraken. He actually has been having a really rough time against the Papis, getting kind of focused out here. So it's better if he just gets the Gem of ISO to provide the slows to his team, and then having Vo or Callus just really looking to help CC and lock members down.
You can see what Vote's doing here. He's just trying to heal up off the Gold Fury over and over again before he returns into the jungle to do it on the red buff as well. Just in case, you know, we do see a fight around the Gold Fury. He wants to top himself up on as much health as possible without having to go back to base. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Ojo Boom's going to face check a corner, but it's instead Dalo who's forced to beads there. That is going to be down now for the next couple of minutes, which is awkward, especially when the Gold Fury is such a threat for Rival to look at.
Plus, Deathwalker's got both of his actors available. That's intimidating.
Well, keep an eye on the blink, all-in potential from that Cataclysm. That's why he's not tanking up the Gold Fury right now. No one's keeping Geb in check. They need to keep him in combat, really, just to make sure he can't go in and blink, because there it is! Straight to the backline onto Ojo Boom, but meanwhile on the other side, a big ultimate coming out for the Papis. Deathwalker does take out Ojo Boom, but still, the members of Rival are in a lot of trouble here. Vote needs some support and gets it from Ice Baby. Creed still giving chase, wanting to bring down Kernanos, and will do so. On the right-hand side, though, Deathwalker's still trying to chase down Dalo, but the silence from Draco will keep his assassin alive, keeping him in combat and away from the fight. But Ice Ice Baby hanging around mid. Draco's going to be a little bit careful, or does he? Because Ice Ice is in trouble in mid until Creed missing that Jingu Bang.
I'm actually surprised that the cudgel didn't connect there for Ice Ice Baby. It looked like it was right on top of his noggin, but it is going to be Papis pressuring this Team 1 tower, and I like this call more than them going for the Gold Fury because this will open up the map. Rival won't have that tower to fall back to, and the Papis, with the way that that fight just played out for them, it's very evident that they have more than enough counterplay still.
That was definitely one of those fights where it was like, okay, we know Geb's going to blink then. They knew Geb was going to blink and they engaged at the same time just before Geb blinked, and then left Geb to do his own devices while they focused the rest of the team. Gold Fury going to go the way of Papis as Ice Ice Baby comes in, silenced in place, knocked up as well. We're pulled down and Ice Ice still alive. 2 kills for Deathwalker. Geb OP from the solo lane, that's for sure right now. As you can see, they kept Ice Ice Baby alive with the well-timed shields.
I think Papis got pretty baited there by Rival. That's all that Ice Ice wanted to do. They collapsed into each other. 3 members of Papis just stacked up inside of a whirlpool. That's free all day long for Deathwalker.
Day. Now Rival can get the Portal Demon, which will answer back a little bit more of the gold from the Gold Fury they lost. Obviously 2 kills helps them out too. And now the gold lead is still in Papis' favor, but it's not by as much as it could have been.
That is actually kind of rough for the Papis to lose the Portal Demon because that was their first actual lead that they had just started to establish in this game. And so having 3 members wipe and then losing Portal just allows Rival to get the experience.
Blink engage from Deathwalker, catching the center from Ojo Boom. He's forced to ult and Aegis as well. Multiple things used there by the Scylla, but Deathwalker's still alive. Tanky old tank. Meanwhile, the Kraken from Wolfie hits 3, but not direct enough and not enough damage to bring any down. So Rival return to their own half of the map.
2 ults for 2 ults.
It was a nice blink, though. I've got to say, that was a nice catch to the Sentinel, looking for the all-in play, just knowing how tanky that Deathwalker Geb solo has been.
And that was a really well-executed response by Ojo Boom, however, holding his Aegis, immuning all of that damage.
Can we take a look at the player damage? I want to see how well Geb's doing this game in terms of player damage so far, because with what he's been doing in this game, it's been pretty impactful. I thought it was 8.1k, obviously behind the Poseidon, but it's a Geb. It's a Geb that's second on player damage.
But take a look at that build. He's got the Void Stone, the Pen Boots, and the CDR from the Breastplate of Valor is also a really important note because having the availability to have that 20% cooldown reduction, he's just going to be spamming that too, really.
Yeah, and causing a lot of problems
and the
for him.
shields.
So you actually think about the build, he's only got 2 damaging items in there, which is the Shield of Magi, Shoes of the Magi, and as well that Void Stone. They're the only 2 things.
But he has high base scaling.
That is true.
That's the nice thing about Geb, and I think something that a lot of people can tend to overlook is just how much damage he can actually do. It just takes forever to get it online.
Left-hand side pressure onto Warchief's up against 2. The poison is ticking on him in the sky, and he will fall down from grace. Meanwhile, Creed has turned up, though, to put pressure back onto Ice Ice Baby and Vote, and with Dalo coming round, he's going to pull Vote into an awkward spot. Tornado already down 2. Knocks Vote in place, but the Aegis keeps him alive for now. Dharmic Pillars combine to bring him down. Now it's Callus on the run. In trouble, has to turn into a dragon and run for his life, but Creed giving chase with the bird form. Ice Ice Baby turns up to give some kisses out to the Papis, but they're kisses that are well received as they pick up a kill on Callus. Meanwhile, mid lane, Rival is split pushing.
And that's all that Rival need to do right now. It's going to be Draco Marino trying to back to defend, but it's going to be too late.
No,
that T2 is gone.
So tier 2 in mid falls down, tier 1 on the left, and Papis could look for a tier 2 here as well. Ice Ice Baby, the only one back to defend, has the speed buff, has no ultimate available. Leaps on the minions, causing a distraction more than anything else. And that's really good work from Ice Ice to slow down Papis trying to get this tier 2 tower.
Clearing the creep wave. I love the decision by Ice Ice Baby to just clear that creep wave, ensure that they can't try and pressure it out any further.
Dalo pulled in. Ice Ice looking to leap away to the jungle, but in the jungle, Ojo Boom came over the wall, but he met Deathwalker again, who cataclysmed him in place. Now Deathwalker knocking up, going to look for the cheeky Sunder at the end, more than likely. If he can find it, in hand is good enough. 80 to the noggin of little baby Scylla.
And now, I think that Dalo, he's got all cooldowns. There's nowhere for him to go.
Wow, this is crazy.
Completely baited out by Rival.
Constant team fights, constant action. Fire Giant still available for both these 2 teams to take. Gold is still pretty much even.
Gold is even, and
Who's
that's
got a lead here, Taco?
I mean, it's Rival with a mild lead simply because of that T2 tower they were able to secure. But with 2 members down for so long on the side of Papis, this is exactly what I expected from Rival.
Well,
Just
Creed's doing
pressure that
speed
team.
buff right now. He gets the speed, checks the corner, sees Fire Giants underway. At a nice health bar right now, Draco Marina with those Dharmic Pillars can make an impact on that Fire Giant too if required. But for now, he's just on zone duty, waiting, blinking from Ice Ice Baby though, giving some kisses out where he can. But the silence caused him so many problems, he was forced to beat and put Warchi in trouble. The dot damage is ticking away on Warchi. I'm not sure it's enough for a kill. Can he pick up Ice Ice Baby before he dies? Warchi lands and Callus picks him up. Big shield onto Ice Ice coming out from Deathwalker. Means that Creed has to take to the monkey in the sky to get away from danger as well.
I'm telling you, Geb is the anti-fun god.
Because he is.
There is just nothing fun about trying to deal with a Geb. And
he's fun to play.
They're so efficient at shutting down Warchi this game as well.
And that's been the key here, is that Warchi was the one that really kind of got off to a great start for the Papis last game. And since then, they're like, we know his snipes are good. He's shown he can really snipe well on Rama. Let's make sure he doesn't have opportunities to do that by taking him out before anybody of us really get that low.
And Ice Ice Baby, while he isn't necessarily top of the player damage charts, he has just been so efficient at baiting Papis into these awkward scenarios. Deathwalker using the ultimate there, I think that was just trying to, mostly a deterrence factor.
I will say Ice Ice is probably having the weakest center I've seen him have in a while. And that's in fairness to him because he's still bottom the play damage. Yeah, he's making an impact, but...
He's been dancing around
but no damage.
Papis.
But no damage. Again.
But he's baiting everybody.
I guess. And that's a benefit to you, but he's still not the best performance we've seen out. I'm just giving him, you know, I'm just saying.
We've certainly seen a lot more out of Ice Ice Baby than what we've seen in this set. But I do think that he's definitely cleaned it up in comparison to the last game.
Well, definitely for sure. Portal Demon going to go the way of Rival. They've got a bit of power play around the Fire Giant now, which is all warded up by the Papis for the time being with all their ward placements down there. Gold Fury has been started by Warchi. No Devour's Gauntlets from here, so just relying on Death's Toll. And Deathwalker going to come in, deny the teleportation coming out from Creed and go, oh, Gold Fury's at half health. Thanks very much, Warchi. Keep an eye on Warchi there on the Rama looking to snipe this away.
Warchi's got to be careful, though, because at any point, Callus could look to engage.
Up too early, and Gold Fury can just be held on to now. Not going to look for damage. Oh, he will for a second, but then a shield from Deathwalker denies it, so Warchi uses his ultimate for free, and Rival's like, thanks very much for the Gold Fury.
But the Kraken being used by Rival, if I'm Papis, I'm looking to try and aggress onto that Fire Giant.
Yeah, a bit surprised Papis weren't really in the position to defend that, or they left Warchi alone. They could have even looked Papis there to do the Fire Giant at the same time, having Warchi on the other side, but not having a Hunter makes it very tricky.
Not having a Hunter makes it very tricky, and I also believe that Rival would have probably been a little bit more suspicious if they're securing a Gold Fury for free and nobody from the Papis is suddenly on the map.
Yeah.
You start to get a little
You're like, hang on,
questionable.
where are they all? Warchi's over here. Where's the rest of the team? Oh, guys, wait, they could be a Fire Giant. 23.5 minutes in this game. It's about 4K lead for Rival after the last couple of team fights. And that's where they've really got the lead from. It's mainly the Portal Demons plus the kills that have really come into play. Callus was looking to burn the Spirit's Robe there off of Dalo. Sorry, I should say Magi's, I should say. Off of Dalo, just to make sure that's on cooldown for another 90 seconds. Tier 1 on the left-hand side does fall down, and that's why Callus just dinged level 15. If you didn't know, you do get a tiny bit of experience from Towers Fallen.
I do... Oh, hold that thought. There's actually looking to be another engagement happening. The ultimate is good from Draco. Oho booms up into the Scylla, but it doesn't connect.
Meanwhile, Warchi got soloed by Deathwalker, or did he? Because now Papis have reinforced Warchi to get him out of the danger zone. Still, Callus is low, and he's going to be safe thanks to the shield coming out from Deathwalker. After that, Vote goes in, and he gets chipped down. Deathwalker's still at full health, going to force them back. But the main thing is that Papis kept their Hunter alive.
Sunder is making life rough for Warchi against this Geb because he can't even shred into him due to his build. It's not a bad build by any means, especially on ROM. You get a lot of use out of this crit potential. It's just when you're facing off against a Geb and a Fafnir, it can become incredibly difficult to shred through all his protections and health.
Biggest difference in that team fight, though, was relic usage versus ultimate usage. You can see a lot of relics were used by Rival, but not as many of their ultimates were burnt. So it's still an even game around the next Fire Giant dance that we'll see between these two teams. Just because Rival may have the ultimates, but if they make a mistake, the relics situation will be punished.
And Papis still have all of their relics available, the important ones at least. Bees and Aegis. That's what you want to see every single time available for your carries.
Well, Fire Giant dance begins again. Callus on zone duty, just waiting around the corner, staring towards the elephant. And Gab in support should be enough to slowly dissuade Papis from coming in here. Fire Giant being chipped out. Creed will be given information that the Fire Giant is still at about 70%, so it's not all doom and gloom. Watchy was on the left-hand side getting the red buff there, and I think if Rival would have known that, they would have aggressed a little bit earlier.
All that Papis want is vote. They just want to take away vote and eliminate him as quickly as possible.
Take away the Kernanos.
Because he's the one dealing a ton of damage, and while he's still trailing behind Deathwalker, it's Deathwalker who's providing the setup and then permitting him to just free cast in that back line. Well,
you saw SS Baby blink in there and use his ultimate onto Ojo Boom, who used his beads in response. And Ojo Boom can go back to base real quick, so he's going to be fine, and that Circuit ultimate on cooldown for a while. Now Ice is a bit of an awkward position, silenced in place, but will be able to dash away thanks to the shields coming out. But no Deathwalker there. Was that beads forced by chance? It wasn't. He just managed to get out of range in time. Speed buff OP.
It's actually going to be Ice Baby's beads off of cooldown now.
Now, yeah.
It just came up.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we see Rival just sitting back again for a second, because the mid laner Wolfie used his beads and Aegis earlier on. They're up in the next 20 seconds. And I don't think we really want to start the Fire Giant just yet without those. But by that point, the Portal Demon will be available, and then Rival will probably go for that as a safety option over the Fire Giant first of all.
This can be mentally draining. Just the way that Rival are slow playing this, because the slightest mistake by either side right now, just one pick is really all either team needs, because the cooldown timers are they're so long now, and it's incredibly problematic that as soon as you lose one member, it just turns into a dominoes effect where you instantly see the team chasing them down to get the lockdown of 1v1.
I mean, on paper, I'm looking at this going, Deathwalker's 6-0-4. Maybe you should kill Deathwalker, but then you think about it, and it's like, wait, that's a Geb. We're going to focus all our investment into Geb just to bring him down. Maybe you have to. Maybe you do, because this Blink Sunder build is working out wonders for him right now. He's basically just picking a carry. See carry, kill carry is what he's doing.
See carry, kill carry, and that's really all he needs to do. And speaking of which, you got Draco Marino getting aggressed on, and he's not a carry, he's a support, but he's still gone.
From the map. In the sky is Warchi was looking to snipe out the back line of Ice Baby, but the shield from Deathwalker dissuaded him from looking for the kill shot. Creed's clone will chase down Rival just to give him vision for a moment, but there is Draco Marino removed from the map thanks to 2 ultimates in a row.
He was just deleted.
Yep. But what can he do there? I mean, if he had Spirit Robe, he might have survived, but that was just a nice clean pick from Rival, knowing, hey, if we CC chain the Circuit into the Geb ultimate, there's no real escape for this elephant.
Rival still, though, hesitant against the Papis.
I think that's just because Ojo Boom. Ojo Boom is playing Scylla. Scylla late game, one crush can steal a Fire Giant, one Armor Monster can steal a Fire Giant. So they've got to be respectful and try to pick it off one moment at a time. They get the Portal Demon, extends their goal lead a little bit more, and the dance will continue.
Well, that's still in favor of Rival every single time, considering that they were able to secure that Portal Demon. Wolfie and Ice Baby hovering around to that Gold Fury now.
They just got a bit of a window with the Portal Demon being there where they can go and do this one, get a little bit more gold into the bank account for themselves. I'm looking towards late game though, because we're starting to hit late game. The full builds are coming through. I feel Papis' composition as time goes on is a little bit stronger, other than the fact that they've got Fafnir on Team Rival.
I would have liked to see the Papis potentially aggress onto Rival there, but without any ward vision available on that side of the map, they weren't aware that that's where 2 members of Rival were at.
And this is where it becomes a bit tricky between these 2 teams, because they both want to do the Fire Giant. Basically, Papis are looking to defend the Fire Giant, knowing they're losing a little bit in this game between the gold lead between the 2 teams. It's about 9,000 now. But Rival is so scared about Ojo Boom coming in for the steal or getting in a bad fight where Draco Marino gets a big old silence onto multiple targets, that they're both just in an awkward situation.
It's just trying to bait out this Geb Sunder ult. That's really the big thing for me here. And Deathwalker, and the way that Rival are playing this, I don't think they're necessarily playing it around the Papis death timers. I think they're purely playing this around when Deathwalker Sunder is available.
Does this go back to the start of the game, though, where Papis could have looked for invading early on and they didn't? They pressured mid lane instead, because we actually saw Creed just started solo on his own. Dalo wasn't alongside him. Should they be looking to do that against the Geb?
I think they should have looked for the invade, most definitely. And speaking of looking for something, Draco just again, no
That's all they're going to do. This is how you kill the elephant. The elephant never forgets, but he don't think he remembers either quite clearly what happened to him last time. So he's going to be so careful now, Draco, because that's all Rival want to do. Pick him over and over. It costs him 2 ultimates. Again, as you can see, Deathwalker, Ice Baby's also on cooldown. Papis looking to try and contest, but Kraken will be enough to secure the Fire Giant for Rival. And now Creed's in a bit of trouble, has his ultimate available, so if he needs it, Rival are happy with the win of just getting the Fire Giant.
Papis couldn't even get into the Fire Giant pit to look for the steal on Ohoboom. He was completely shut out of that corridor. Yeah,
and it just caused so many problems now for the Papis to do anything without having Ganesha on their side. They've just had to sit back. They're going to lose a tier 2 on the right-hand side. Tier 2 is available on the left-hand side for Rival to take 2. And I think that's where they might end up going to, unless they feel they can go for the for the Phoenix here.
Vote's build just completely shreds towers. They don't stand a chance, and that's
all
he has to do is just pay attention to the objectives and freehand those.
And that's what you were saying for Rival. Sorry, for Papis, is they should be trying to focus Vote, or they were trying to focus Vote. He's causing problems for them because they can't reach him in the back line with the amount of front line Rival have here.
I don't even think that it's the Fafnir. I think that it's purely just the Geb got away with being Geb, because it's an incredibly greedy god to play in the solo lane, considering how much farm you actually need for it to be viable. Papis weren't able to punish that early on, so you let a Geb get to the babysitting stage of a game, and he's just horrible trying to deal with.
Hey, you remember you said about Rat No Boots? At first I thought, I saw his build up for a second, I'm like, did he just sell his boots? I'm like, no, it was a Swift Wing yourself looking for the Spirit Robe more than likely. But at first I was like, oh, is he No Boots Geb? That is the biggest meme I've ever seen if that was the case. No Boots Geb.
I don't think that Deathwalker's that reckless with his build.
Are you sure?
You might have just inspired him.
Maybe I have. Maybe that's the future. I mean, you've got Rollout anyway, right? And Blink, who needs mobility when you can roll out at faster speed too? Left-hand side, though, no defense from the Papis at the tier 2 tower. Rival have just pushed in the minions this way to bring along with them, so they've got them available for the Phoenix. And this is the Phoenix they'd want more than any Phoenix in the game.
And they've set themselves up in a very strong position to take it. I think that now Draco he's pretty scared. He's got to be scared, knowing how quickly they can burst him down.
He's also going to step forward because he is attacked for the team. Dharmic Pillar's dropped and already watch, he's disappeared like a magic trick. Creed is also in trouble too as he goes down to Wolfie. Next on the list is Dalo, who's bleeding away, and once again another kill for Wolfie. Now it's only Ohoboom surviving, and it doesn't look like Rival are going to waste any time and going for the Titan.
They don't need to waste any time. There's just absolutely no way that Ohoboom can defend this. One against the world, and ultimate not going to connect, and he might actually, he's dead in the fountain.
Re-listen to this game. Game 1 was all Papis playing very well in the counter initiation and finding the big old win for themselves. Game 2, it was all Geb.